Number 8. Melvin Townsend. On April the 20th of 2022, former heavyweight boxing champion Mike Tyson was on a JetBlue flight from San Francisco to Miami, Florida, while on his way to the Benzinga Cannabis Conference, where he was the keynote speaker. During the flight, 36-year-old Melvin Townsend III, a self-described fan, approached the former athlete, reportedly asking for a photo, and their initial interaction was described as cordial. Cell phone footage shared by TMZ and picked up by multiple media outlets then showed Townsend talking animatedly and waving his arms while standing over 55-year-old Tyson's seat. The individual who'd captured the video, believed to have been a friend of Townsend's, claimed that he was pestering the former boxer for mushrooms, adding that he didn't know how to act. Tensions reached a boiling point after Townsend had allegedly thrown a bottle at Tyson, seemingly oblivious to the fact that Iron Mike was once regarded as boxing's most terrifying figure. As shown in the viral clip, Tyson rose from his seat, turned around and began throwing punches at the other man's head. It wasn't immediately clear how many of the strikes had landed, but in the aftermath, Townsend was filmed with blood on his face while maintaining a pouty, sullen expression. In further reports on the matter, he denied throwing the bottle, while Tyson maintained that his punches hadn't made contact with enough force to break the skin and cause the bleeding on the man's face. Both the former boxer and Townsend ultimately decided they didn't want the incident to end up in court. The latter had a lengthy criminal record with convictions that included fraud, burglary, and possession of controlled substances. Tyson himself faced series of charges before the San Mateo County District Attorney decided to drop the case, concluding that the beatdown had been caused by Townsend's conduct. Today's featured fan shoutout is Instagram follower Cinnamon42. To appear in our next video, send us your pic rocking the latest merch from theywillkillyou.com and send it in to us on Instagram today. Number 7. Santana Jackson. Michael Jackson impersonator Santana Jackson was involved in a video-recorded altercation with an unnamed man on the Las Vegas Strip in January of 2022. Jackson was also an indie pro wrestler whose moves in the ring were inspired by the King of Pop. A year prior, he'd gone viral on Twitter for performing a moonwalk DDT. It involved performing the signature dance move whilst holding on to an opponent's head and then slamming them in the canvas. As he later told TMZ during the January incident, he was approached by a man who appeared to be intoxicated. In a sudden and unprovoked attack, the man started hitting the performer in the face, causing his hat to fall off. Jackson tried to defuse the situation and calm down his unnamed assailant, who was wearing a green t-shirt that read, "Can't fix stupid." The man continued behaving aggressively, ultimately prompting Jackson, an experienced grappler, to trip and take him down. Jackson then put the man in a headlock and squeezed, causing his face to visibly turn red. They were ultimately separated by a passerby, and in his subsequent media interviews, Jackson admitted that he'd tried not to hurt his attacker since he'd appeared to be unwell at the time. Number 6. Al Sutcliffe. While on a night out in October 2014, Canadian man Al Sutcliffe and his friends headed to a fast food restaurant. As he would later recount on his YouTube page, Sutcliffe spotted a young man who was allegedly annoying one of his companions while they were queued up at an establishment in Kitchener, Ontario. Sutcliffe then decided to play a prank on the other man that involved giving him a pizza slap. As shown in a cell phone video of the incident, he walked up to him and extended his hand. In the moments that followed, as the other man attempted to shake his hand, Sutcliffe hit him in the face with a slice of cheese pizza. The slap victim initially stepped back in disbelief, but then began hurling verbal abuse at Sutcliffe. The latter turned his back, sat down and laughed him off. Sutcliffe was then punched from behind by the second man, and the strike knocked him out cold. He remained unconscious on the table for what he'd later estimate to have been over 2 minutes before other diners helped him regain his senses. In the immediate aftermath, he had a dazed expression and a red streak on the side of his face. The video of the ill-fated prank and consequent attack went viral in the aftermath, with a number of viewers arguing that Sutcliffe had been in the wrong and deserving of the violent retaliation. Number 5. Danny Anderson. A security guard at an Asda in Shoeburyness, Essex, England, punched a man into unconsciousness in September of 2021. CCTV clips, which gained traction online the following month, initially drew mixed reactions as the reason for 32-year-old security guard Danny Anderson's actions was unclear. Some proposed that it had been a racially motivated attack, given that the guard was white while the other man was black. As soon as the latter had walked into the store, Anderson threw a single punch which dropped him to the store's floor. He then dragged him outside by his grey hoodie while he was still unconscious and dumped him in front of the supermarket. A shopper handed the beaten man his cell phone as he struggled getting back to his feet, stumbling and falling on his face in the process. Anderson subsequently talked to a media outlet and clarified the situation, underlining that race had never been a factor. The guard reported that he'd thrown the other man out of the store on 2 separate occasions leading up to the altercation. He'd allegedly claimed to have a knife and threatened to stab Anderson, as well as other people in the store. When he re-entered the store and aggressively approached Anderson while reaching into his pocket, the guard assumed the man would follow through on his previous threats. Essex police reported that they would be investigating the incident, but as of the latest updates, no charges were brought against the security guard. Number 4. Julius Francis. In June of 2022, former heavyweight boxing champion Julius Francis was working security at Box Park, Wembley, in London, when a male customer began behaving aggressively towards the venue's staff and patrons. The unidentified man, who was wearing a blue do-rag, had pushed and unsuccessfully tried to punch members of the public for up to 15 minutes. As shown by cell phone footage, 57-year-old Francis then moved farther from the entrance, at which point the enraged man walked up to him while shouting and raising his fist. Francis, who in 2000 had fought heavyweight boxing legend Mike Tyson, then struck him with a short right hook. The aggressive man instantly collapsed on the pavement. His injuries were unclear, but he remained motionless for several seconds before the clip, which went viral in the aftermath, cut off. Both the Box Park CEO and fellow staff members voiced their support for Francis when news of the incident started to spread. A review of the video by the Metropolitan Police led them to conclude that the former athlete had acted reasonably and legally given the circumstances. Number 3. DARRYL Minter. Shortly after being escorted out of the Coda nightclub in Walnut Street, Philadelphia, an unnamed reveler began pestering the bouncer to let him back inside in May of 2016. The man asked that the much larger security staffer, subsequently identified as 30-year-old DARRYL Minter, take a swing at him. In the video-recorded interaction, his proposition entailed that if Minter missed, he'd be allowed back inside. The bouncer refused, but the man remained insistent before getting closer to him. It was then that Minter, who'd been speaking to someone else, suddenly turned his body and struck the man in the head with a swinging punch. A loud thud was heard in the audio accompanying the footage as the reveler's body instantly stiffened up and he fell on the sidewalk, unconscious with his arms raised. A female bystander could be heard remarking, "He's still breathing," in the moments that followed. The video ended with him still motionless, but an eyewitness later told a local news station that he got up about a minute later and started talking to people outside the club. He was taken to a hospital for a gash in his head, while Minter left the scene. Updates on the situation indicated that he'd been arrested and charged with aggravated assault, simple assault, and recklessly endangering another person. Today's topic was requested by Manderson. If you have any other topics you'd like to learn about, subscribe and let us know in the comments section below. Number 2. David Mulder. Australian street performer David Mulder made headlines around the world in 2013 through a viral video of an altercation with a man who'd been harassing him and invading his personal space. While wearing a cowboy costume, 50-year-old Mulder was in the midst of his human statue act at Cavill Mall in Surfers Paradise, Queensland. An unnamed Brisbane college student captured him on cell phone video shaking hands with a young boy, seconds before he was approached by a visibly intoxicated man. The latter, only identified as Luke by a friend online, began bothering Mulder. He tapped the sides of his face, moved his hat and stuck a saliva-soaked finger into his ear as bystanders asked that he leave him alone. Luke seemed surprised that Mulder wasn't reacting and, as he started walking away, rapidly rubbed his palm into the performer's nose. Exasperated by the incessant harassment, Mulder broke character and punched the man in the face. The performer immediately resumed his routine and no further violence occurred. He apologized for his actions in the aftermath, telling a media outlet, "Violence is never vindicated." The clip of the altercation was subsequently distributed online, where it has since earned millions of views. The vast majority of commenters sided with Mulder, arguing that Luke's actions had been deliberately provocative. Number 1. Conor McGregor. Mixed martial arts icon Conor McGregor has gotten into a number of altercations throughout his fighting career, some of which were ostensibly sparked by him invading other people's private space. McGregor was the first champion in 2 different UFC weight classes, a feat that added to him becoming one of the most recognizable and wealthiest athletes in the world. Much of his mainstream appeal was a product of the athlete's deftness at self-promotion through his confident and, at times, brash personality. That same attitude would eventually mark a downward turn for McGregor's public image. One notable incident was during promotional appearances for UFC 223 on April the 5th of 2018 at the Barclays Center in New York City. A few days earlier, a fellow fighter and friend of McGregor's had gotten into a minor altercation with UFC star Khabib Nurmagomedov. The latter and McGregor had had heated exchanges on social media in the past. In retaliation for the altercation, McGregor went to Barclays with a group of roughly 20 others. They tried confronting Nurmagomedov, who was on a bus with several other UFC fighters including Rose Namajunas, Ray Borg and Michael Chiesa. They effectively became trapped on the vehicle and the confrontation culminated with McGregor throwing a metal equipment dolly at its window, shattering it. Chiesa and Borg were injured by pieces of shattered glass and needed medical attention. McGregor eventually pleaded no contest to a count of disorderly conduct, for which he was given community service for 5 days. On April the 6th of 2019, McGregor was at the Marble Arch pub in his native Dublin, Ireland, where he insisted that an elderly patron take a shot of his own proper 12 whiskey. The man repeatedly declined and McGregor consequently punched him in the face. He was later charged with assault and ordered to pay a fine of over $1,000. A video of the incident circulated online and earned the UFC fighter further negative press, with many becoming increasingly critical of his behavior. In 2021, on the red carpet of the MTV Video Music Awards, McGregor got into an altercation with recording artist Machine Gun Kelly. The two exchanged words after the fighter had reportedly asked for a photo with actress Megan Fox, Kelly's date. Upon being refused, he'd allegedly become aggressive, lunging at MGK and unsuccessfully trying to punch him. The most recent altercation involving McGregor occurred in 2021 at a nightclub in Rome, Italy, where he allegedly assaulted Francesco Facchinetti, a musician and TV presenter. They'd reportedly been talking and drinking together when McGregor, without provocation, struck Facchinetti and broke his nose. The latter pressed charges a few days later, alleging that the attack had been witnessed by bouncers and other patrons. Thanks for watching. Would you rather get kicked in the head by Conor McGregor or punched in the liver area by Mike Tyson? Let us know in the comments section below.